Hi, class from somewhere in the world. This is Sociology of Deviance, Sociology 429. I'm Dr. Marina. I'm a professor in the Department of Sociology and Criminal Justice here at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse. And I'm here to introduce you and welcome you to the class. I'll briefly go over the syllabus and the requirements for the final paper. And I'll talk a little bit about the books that we're going to read in this class. Um, to start off with, again, I'm Dr. Marina. You can simply call me Marina if you wish and drop the fancy titles. Um, for virtual office hours during this semester, just email me that you wish to meet, and we will be able to schedule a mutually convenient time for us to virtually meet, whether it be on the phone or Zoom or any other type of outlet. Um, Make sure you check out the syllabus and all the information on Canvas. Everything in this class will be very straightforward. I have an introduction module where I also introduce the class to you, tell you a little bit about what the class is about and those expectations. So make sure you read all of the material in all the modules, and in particular, the introduction module where you will introduce yourselves to the class, say something interesting about yourself and why you're interested in taking the class. And then we'll go on to week one. Again, make sure you look at and read all the material in the modules. I offer an introduction to each week. And I talk about the expectations for that week and exactly what we're going to do. It's all in the syllabus, but it's also reiterated in those Canvas modules. So again, make sure that you read each section of each week's module that offers essential information for you to be successful in this class. Okay, so going back to the syllabus, make sure you read the course description and objectives, the required books. Really, it's 2.5 books required for this class, but these aren't boring textbooks. These are very good, easy to read books. So you should be able to go through them rather quickly. They don't use, highfalutin academic jargon or anything like that. These are classic books, some of the best that has ever been done, I think, in American uh, sociology. And so give it a good look, American and British sociology. So I think you'll enjoy those books. I purposely picked them out. This is the first time we're offering a deviant class in a long time. And I'm a professor that teaches a lot of the criminology classes in the department. I teach criminology, delinquency, deviancy, human rights policing, the qualitative capstone senior course, as well as a couple others, social problems. But most of my publications, research, and teaching involves critical cultural criminology, and so deviance very much fits within my specialty. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the first book. Maybe next week I'll talk about the next book, and then I'll talk about the last book. But the first book you're going to read is Howard Becker, Outsiders, Studies in the Sociology of Deviance. That's week one. Again, easy to read book, very enjoyable. I think you'll like the way it's written. It's not a pain to get through or anything like that. So you'll enjoy it. Second book, Stanley Cohen's Folk Devils and Moral Panics. Again, it's another great book, I think very relevant today as well. And so all of these books are very relevant, I think, today. And then you read my book, Down and Out in New Orleans. Not all of my book, but certain selected chapters from my book. Of course, you can read it all if you want, but I'm only requiring a few select chapters. And that's Down and Out. It's my book, Down and Out in New Orleans, Transgressive Living in the Informal Economy. And it came out with Columbia University Press. I also have a recommended book. We're not going to cover it in class, but I think it's one of the best books in Deviance. Called the editors are Stuart Hall and Tony Jefferson, two great British theorists who wrote Resistance Through Rituals, Youth Subcultures in Post-War Britain. Okay, every once in a while you have an outside reading. All that will be provided for you on Canvas. Make sure you check out the weekly agenda where you read the introduction. Sometimes I'll have a video lecture, and then you cover exactly what's in the syllabus. Again, I put all that in the introduction of every module. Please note, and this is very important, late assignments and discussion posts discussion board posts will not be graded. So unless mutually agreed upon, late assignments, including exams, essays, discussion board posts, or any other assignment, will not be graded after the due date. And so please make note of that. I want everyone to be successful. So really, just make sure that you pay attention to the syllabus and to the modules, where you know where everything is due and you get everything in on time, so it all gets graded. Okay. So the requirements for the course, you have a midterm exam. That's going to be a multiple choice exam, and is based on the first two books for the class, Becker's Outsiders, Studies in the Sociology of Deviance, and Cohen's Folk Devils and Moral Panics. And that's going to be composed of 60 multiple choice exam questions, 120 points. You'll have a final paper that's worth 100 points. It's applying sociological theories to discuss deviance. I'm going to go over the final paper with you in this video, but I also have detailed instructions provided to you on Canvas. Then you have 180 points for the discussion boards. So pay attention to this. Students are required to participate in weekly discussion boards of 4 posting minimums for each discussion board. 1 original response by no later than Thursday or Friday, depending on the week. So you have to check the schedule, the syllabus schedule of the corresponding week at 11:59 p.m. and 3 in-depth response posts to peers by no later than Friday or Saturday. Again, check the syllabus of each corresponding week at 6 p.m. Per week. There are 2 discussion boards for each week. Each post is worth 7.5 points. So that's 30 points per discussion board and 180 points total for all 3 weeks. And I give you a rubric for how to be successful and get all the points in the discussion post. Keep in mind, and this is where students oftentimes lose points, so don't be one of those people. Your reply post should be just as in-depth as the original post. So the same requirements in your original post also are for your reply post. So the same exact requirements, same exact expectations. So make sure that your reply post to peers are just as strong, or just as elaborate, that use stories and examples to illustrate your points and substantiate your arguments for both the original and the reply post. Students usually lose points in their reply post because they don't make it as in-depth as the original post. So don't make that mistake. You want to get all your points for these discussion board posts. They're easy points, but you follow the rubric and make sure, again, that your reply posts are just as strong, just as elaborate, and uses stories and examples to illustrate your points and substantiate your arguments just as much as you do in your original posts. So very important, and the rubric is provided to you on the syllabus. Okay, moving on. So grading overall, discussion board post, 180 points, midterm exam, 120 points, final paper, 100 points, for a total of 400 points. And, then that's how you graded. You can look up the makeup policy. I'm not going to read the whole syllabus to you or anything. So check out the attendance, reading assignments, writing assignments, participation, and class structure. Then also give keys to a successful 3-week course. And so I highly suggest that you follow that example. Okay, again, I'm going to talk about your final paper guidelines in a moment. But again, week 1, we're going to cover Outsiders, Studies in the Sociology of Deviance. And so you'll read that book, and then you're going to have 2 discussion posts that are based upon that book. And the syllabus, again, provides the due dates for your 2 original posts and your reply posts. Week 2, we're going to cover Stanley Cohen's Folk Devils and Moral Panics. And so that's 6 chapters there. Again, easy reading. Both books are easy reading, so don't let it be intimidating to you. And then you'll have 2 discussion board posts based upon Folk Devils and Moral Panics. And then you'll also have your midterm exam. I'll open it up in the middle of week 2, and I'll give you all the way until Sunday, January 14th, to complete the multiple choice exam that's based upon those 2 books. And then week 3 um, is called Deviant and Transgressive Lifestyles, Ethnography in a City. And that's where we look at my book, Down and Out in New Orleans. And you'll see the chapters that you're expected to read for that. And then I'll have 2 discussion board posts, one related to my book, Down and Out in New Orleans, and then another discussion board post related to something else, something I think you'll like. And then that final paper will be due January 19th of look ahead, 2023, 2024. Okay. Yeah. And let's see here. So let me go over your final paper. Yep. So yeah, let me go over, let me find this. Yeah, okay. So the instructions for your final paper, basically you want to write a paper showing your understanding of labels and deviance in society. So the final paper, it explores how society labels certain behaviors as deviant and the impact of these labels on individuals and communities. Focusing on labeling theory, things like labeling theory, folk devils, moral panics, and the social construction of deviance. Your paper should provide a straightforward analysis of these concepts. And so the guidelines, you're going to choose a specific deviant behavior that you want to examine. It could be anything from like graffiti, online gaming, shoplifting, drug use, whatever type of deviant behavior, or even like cults, things like that. People who kind of drop out of society. There's all kinds of deviance. Deviance doesn't have to be crime, of course. But deviance is, generally speaking, behavior that goes against and challenges societal norms. I've always been a deviant, at least considered a deviant, and so I enjoy teaching this class. Introduction. So 2, introduction to labeling theory. You're going to show your understanding of labeling theory. And you'll introduce and explain how it suggests that the act of labeling someone as deviant can influence their behavior. And so very important. 3, folk devils and moral panic. You'll define and discuss the concept of folk devils and moral panics, explore how certain groups or behaviors become exaggerated and feared, leading to societal reactions. And then again, you're all linking this to the deviant, your chosen specific deviant behavior for this paper. Then you'll have a case studies or provide real life examples that illustrate labeling theory, folk devils, and moral panics. And this should include things like media coverage, public reactions, legal responses, things like that. 5th part of your paper, social construction of deviance, explore how society constructs the idea of deviance, discuss the role of culture, media, and societal institutions in shaping what is considered deviant. Then you'll talk about the impact on labeled individuals, discuss how being labeled as deviant can affect individuals, discuss the role of culture, media, and social institutions in shaping what is considered deviant. Again, you're going to focus all this on a specific deviant behavior. Then you'll talk about the impact of the labels on the individual, discuss how being labeled as deviant can affect people, explore the consequences of things like stigma, social exclusion, and potential changes in behavior due to societal examples. And then you'll talk about social responses and policies. You'll examine how societies respond to deviance, discuss the creation of laws, policies, social norms that are influenced by labeling and moral panics. Things like drunk driving, and then that created a moral panic, and then MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, lobbying politicians to create laws, strict laws on drinking and driving. That would be one example. Then you have a conclusion where you summarize your findings and you emphasize the importance of understanding labeling theory and the social construction of deviance and shaping our perceptions and reactions to certain behaviors. And you'll see in the final paper guidelines, it should be about 8 pages, double spaced, standard font like Times New Roman, and you should have a title page with your name, course title, and the date. And that title page does not count as part of the 8 pages. Then you'll submit your final paper on Canvas module by January 19th, 2024. And basically your paper will be evaluated based on the clarity of your explanations, use of examples, your ability to apply labeling theory, folk devils, moral panics, and the social construction of deviance to real world people or real world situations. ensure that your final paper reflects a solid understanding of these concepts in the context of deviant behavior. So that's your final paper. And so finally, I'll just say a few words on the first book you'll read. Now, I'll post another video week 2 on Cohen's book on folk devils. But Howard Becker's Outsiders Studies in the Sociology of Deviance is a famous classical work in the field of sociology. It examines deviant behavior and social reactions to deviant behavior. It was originally published in 1963, and it was very controversial at the time. It challenged traditional views of deviance by shifting the focus from the individual's inherent qualities to the process of social labeling. In other words, people used to think that there was something inherent in the deviant or something inherent in deviant actions. But Becker challenges those notions like nobody ever did before. He argues that deviance is not a quality inherent in any single action, but rather a quality bestowed upon an action by outside observers. He introduces the concept of moral entrepreneurs who lead campaigns to have certain behaviors labeled as deviant, which influences the creation and enforcement of social rules. The book emphasizes the relativity of deviance, highlighting what is considered deviant varies across time and place, cultures, and history. One of the key contributions of Outsiders, of course, is his use of labeling theory, which asserts that societal reactions, especially the act of labeling people as deviant, like at-risk youth, a completely made-up, violent concept placed against young people, oppositional defiance, things like that. These are labels that powerful people use to bully the powerless and the more vulnerable in society, including kids. So Becker explores how these individuals labeled as deviant may internalize these labels, and it eventually becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where their behavior aligns with societal expectations. Howard Becker supports his arguments. He uses empirical studies, drawing on his own field work. He used to be a jazz musician in brothels in Chicago and in jazz clubs in Chicago, and so he used that as kind of his laboratory to conduct field experiments. And he interviewed individuals engaged in activities that are considered deviant. Back when he was writing, marijuana was considered deviant. Now it's about as deviant as eating grandma's oatmeal cookies. In fact, oatmeal cookies might be more dangerous because of all the sugar that gives so many Americans diabetes. But nonetheless, so he interviews jazz musicians on how they become a marijuana user. And so he adopts this symbolic interactionist perspective, since it's a 4,000 level sociology class. Hopefully you know symbolic interactionism. And so he uses this symbolic interactionist perspective as opposed to a Marxist perspective that was kind of kicking off in the 1960s. To emphasize the importance of understanding the meanings and interpretations individuals give to their actions and how these interpretations shape social responses. So Outsiders has had a lasting impact on the study of deviance and sociology. It's influenced subsequent research on social reactions and the sociology of labeling and the understanding of how social norms are constructed and enforced. And it provides insights to continue to be very relevant today to scholars, students, professors, academics, sociologists, criminologists, interested in this complex interplay between individual behavior, societal reactions, and the social construction of deviant identities. And so I'll leave you here. Next week, I'll talk a little bit about Stanley Cohen's Folk Devils and Moral Panics. But again, just again, make sure that you pay attention to the deadlines. If you need anything, please send me an email so we can find a mutually convenient time to meet online. Otherwise, I look forward to an excellent class. I look forward to reading your discussion post and final papers. And the class is set up for you to learn a lot, but also have an enjoyable, pleasurable experience. And I hope that I will have delivered that for you. So thanks for listening. And again, welcome to class. Take care.